A very good afternoon to you. Extra. My name is Shegun. Or do I have with me here Anyton Daramola? Anyton, good afternoon to you.
A wonderful afternoon to you, Shegun. And to our very esteemed viewers, a wonderful afternoon to you.
All right. In case you do not know, this is our very last edition of Punch Sports Extra in the month of August. I mean, I needed to add that because when next we'll be coming here, we are going to be in a new month of September. And you know when you begin to hear ba, 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 we are gradually coming to the end of the year 2025. Once again, you're welcome to Punch Sports Extra today. We'll be starting with Punch Sports Extra, the print editions review of the front page. And we have two of our guys who have started the season on a very great level. I'm talking about Alex Iwobi, who got a fantastic assist against Manchester United, and Victor Osimhen, the marksman, who can't stop scoring. So the highlights of that particular game this morning, and I think if his players had fed him enough, he could have gotten more than a goal, but he got a goal, which is a great one for him. Anytime, our guys are starting on the rise.
Oh yes, they are starting on the rise, and I would like to start with Alex Iwobi. I think he has just picked up from where he stopped last season, especially against Manchester United. I think you recall in one of the two legs, last season he scored the decider against Manchester United, and he's up and running again. And how he managed to boss that midfield yesterday. Manchester United, the system now, I really don't get it because they have to play with
it's normal, you will not
get
it.
Two midfields.
If I don't even get, I don't get it too myself.
So it was up against Bruno Fernandes, Casemiro, and at the point Bruno Fernandes and Missy Mount. At the point it was Bruno Fernandes again, and what's his name now, Manuel Ugarte. However, it will be managed, to shine in that light, because I think Manchester United started off, the first 15 minutes thereabout from the start of the game, and then Fulham came to party and they dominated Manchester United. However, they were unable to to score the goals earlier, or the goal earlier, and they were unable to bury that game. They should have actually buried that game. They had some late chances, although it was both teams that had some late chances that they could have stolen the entire 3 points, but they didn't. However, that assist from Alex Iwobi, apart from the fact that Manchester United team, they slept at that point, but that assist was superb, and the finish from Smith Rowe was absolutely brilliant. Kudos to Fulham. They've gone just showed again that they can pose a threat to anything, even Manchester United. Yeah,
by the outside of our front page, the Twitter handle, or the X handle like it's now known, of the Super Eagles some minutes ago was celebrating Nigerian players and how they've started the season, the goals, the assists, the duels, with their pictures and their stats, and I think that's a good one. But very quickly, we'll be sticking with the front page and we'll be moving to another part of the front page. We'll be talking about Victor Boniface. There's something about the name Victor, though. It looks like they just caught some. They just stay on the front page and stay in some controversy, I guess. His move to AC Milan was celebrated. I think we even spoke about this last week.
Oh yeah.
But now it was everywhere all over the weekend, on social media, from Fabrizio to this person to that other person online, that he went to Milan. There was an agreement with Milan between both clubs, Bayer Leverkusen and AC Milan. In fact, our front page has it that he had 4 medicals, but he has now returned to Leverkusen because of a failed medical. And there's the screenshot of his chat with Fabrizio trending with that discussion, and himself posting, and a whole lot in this situation right now.
This is not interesting.
It's not a good thing.
It's not, interesting to read, and at the same time, it's not interesting to hear. Personally, I feel for the person of, Victor Boniface, he's not had, a good time lately. He struggled with the club. I think it was last week I was asking if he was in the team's, plan, especially Eric Ten Hag
plan you were saying
for the new season. You understand? Because he has not really, been used as expected. He's the front man. You understand? I think this will take us back to when, what's his name now? Alonso was in charge of Bayer Leverkusen. Something happened. I don't know.
After that injury, after that period, it wasn't
just happened, and Victor Boniface has not been, the happy and the jolly, celebrity Victor Boniface that we have seen. I want that Victor Boniface back. Regardless of what people think about him, regardless of his social media, outbursts or his time on social media, people need to understand that he's human. And the fact that he's Nigerian alone just puts much pressure on him. I think I will need to tell our viewers and everybody watching us that this is not the first player to fail a medical.
Many players
exactly,
have failed
many
medicals.
players have failed medicals. You understand?
Many.
And even I think at the point in time, a Nigerian player, this is not about failed medical now. I think he went. It was a deadline day transfer that failed. Denwige. You understand? People, you understand? Things like this happen. You understand? I think the fact that every now and then when you hear somebody is going for medical or is having his medical, a footballer is having his medicals, it's almost as if it's a done deal. But you need to know that there are a lot of things that go on in this
behind
state.
the scenes.
And questions are asked. I have a question because I think the failed medicals is coming about 24 hours or maybe 2 days, if I'm not mistaken, after Fabio Capello slammed AC Milan for the move.
So, some journalists, Italian journalists as well, slammed AC Milan.
So there were a lot of things would go on. I'm sure, if he would have the chance to, maybe out of respect for AC Milan, he has a side of his story.
Maybe not now. Maybe not now. Maybe somewhere on a podcast someday. Yeah.
The report is just Boniface fails medical and they had to pull out.
Because some sources are saying that he didn't fail.
Exactly.
Some persons are quoting some people in Bayern Leverkusen and saying that no, their player is fit, their player is fine.
You get.
Some persons are attributing the result of the failed medical to the knee. While other person, a lot is just going on at the moment. Really.
Yeah, a lot is just going on. However, on the side of the player, I think he needs to surround. I'm going to be frank. I've said about AC Milan, we still really need people to investigate and get back to us. Let us know what happened, because it can't just fail medicals 2 days or 24 hours after some set of people, especially the caliber of person of Fabio Capello. Capello is not just an ordinary coach. He's somebody strong in the football, especially when it comes to Italian football. Is pretty much strong. You understand? And then coming out to criticize the move when the deal was not
the agreement was signed.
Exactly, but the deal was not official.
100% done.
You understand? It wasn't official, but then he was criticizing the move and saying why they should have gone for Højlund over Boniface. You understand? And then all of a sudden you hear that he failed a medical. However, regardless of that, which is normal to fail in medical, you understand, it could be maybe the bone structure, a lot of things. I think I saw
it's a lot,
someone detailing this one time, a long time ago. It could be the bone structure. It could be that they just found that, okay, maybe we can't do with this guy. He won't, on the long run, he won't give us this, he won't give us that. You understand? However, the big question is, who are those surrounded, he's surrounded himself with? I'm sad to see, it was pretty sad watching that he had to message Fabrizio Romano to pull down a post, which I don't have a problem with. However, why did that come out to the public?
Why did it surface online?
Why did it surface online? The person that posted it does not have an access to his personal
private.
Yes, it's a private chat, for crying out loud. Everything should not be on social media. And for the kind of, I think some people need to understand where they are, the level that they are.
Operate on that
and operate
pedestal.
On that pedestal. Victor Boniface is not an ordinary NPFL, Nigerian league,
NPFL,
third league.
We are not ordinary in our professional league.
Apologies for saying using the word ordinary. But when I say it's not just any player, you understand? It's not when I say any.
You're not a wishy-washy guy.
Exactly,
you're a top guy.
You get. Thank you very much. Due respect to everybody in the NPFL. Due respect to those in the NNL, those in the lower leagues. You understand? But if you are there, you are there. Know that you are there and act like
there's
somebody
a professional
that is there
in front of your footballer for a reason.
Surround yourself with professionals, people who know PR, people who know. You understand? The other day, somebody posted something about Victor Osimhen and a bet about where he's likely going to end. Guess what? Victor Osimhen has ended up in that place that the person, the odds are. You shouldn't do that. This is somebody's life at stake. You understand? And these are the kind of things that people look at. And clubs rather look at and say,
especially clubs of these days. Did you see John Terry interview where he said that watching football for him is boring, but that's not the point for me. But getting a job as a manager now, that you sit down in these boardrooms and they start asking you for your philosophy. Do you play like Guardiola? Do you play like? And he said he told them for him that we are in the third division, second division. You cannot. I don't have the players to play at that level. You just play football at that. So now a lot of all these guys behind the scenes in these clubs are looking for the traditionally modeled kind of guys.
Yeah.
If you have to live that life for that 5, 7, if that is your pattern, you know, it depends on where you know, if you know this is where I work, we don't do this like this. We don't do this like this. So, and you just whatever, stay in that place.
Exactly.
This sport you will not be playing for 20 years or 40 years.
Obviously.
You know, you're just going to, you can now come back, make a book.
Exactly.
Something. Especially at this time, not this time.
Look at Harry Maguire. He was supposed to speak
about his former manager. He said when he finishes with football,
but he doesn't want to say it just right now. And this brings me back to, you know, Gary Lineker some weeks ago. He was talking about something he heard from Grapevine. I think people just, you know, because he was talking about Osimhen and some Nigerians rather, just took it out of, you know, context. Because he was, you know, he was talking about our guy, our favorite guy. And he was saying, you know, he heard that he disappears for some times. He said
you don't just see him.
Exactly, but he said he heard from Grapevine. He's not saying as a first-hand information, but he's saying that he heard from
sources.
Grapevine sources. So things like this could hamper moves. It could hamper deals from big clubs. And you know how you handle yourself publicly matters a lot. And you know what he said doesn't mean that it's true. But if one person, two people, you know, start saying things like this,
it becomes a fact.
Because
people won't come to ask you
about
you. It's what they hear about you that many people go with.
Social media never forget. Everything should not be about likes and clicks. You understand?
Interesting one here, Anytime, because this was really on my mind. I don't know. I came in early and I was like, but we didn't need to see some parts.
Exactly.
You didn't, you know. I mean, I believe in you expressing yourself and all of that, but you know, at this critical, you've not even sorted the condition.
I'm sorry, I had to cut you. Ademola Lookman, after the public statement, he has never said anything. And there are some players that.
Interestingly, on the front page, there's Ademola Lookman's corner there, and that's actually what is next because he has been frozen out. It wasn't exactly used. Not officially frozen out, but you know, it wasn't in the first 11 of Atalanta. They played against a team that just came up. Interestingly, they drew 1-0, meaning that they missed Ademola Lookman.
Obviously,
it looks like the man wants to leave after that statement, and they don't want to release him to where where the club that wants to buy him is coming from. And reports have it that he may be going to England.
Oh yeah, good. I think it will be a good one for him to return to England. However, it is the club that he would join that matters most. You understand? Because we don't want him. I don't want him to, you know, to go to a club that would, you know, not, you know, give him that, you know, level of football that we expect him to be playing. You understand? He's a player that should be in the Champions League.
Of course,
should be, you know, at the top. It should just be at the top and should be competing for leagues. You understand? For the trophy at the league and then the league cups. You understand? I think something interesting should be taken from what the new coach of Atalanta said. He said that the blame should be on both sides. This side wants this side. I like the fact that he didn't come out to throw the player under the bus, unlike the former coach did when he missed a penalty. He didn't throw the player under the bus because he's privy to some, you know, information that we are not privy to. You understand? We are not privileged to. He is privileged to that, and he has come, you know, just to stay neutral. You understand? And that's why I think people should actually stay neutral. However, I think if he doesn't move this summer, there's no way they can ship him out on loan. There is no way they can force him out of the club. He's a particular player that this club needs, and they need to settle their differences. Let us settle for, you know, what's the word now? A transfer fee, a cap, and say, okay, this is what we are selling for. I think clubs should just, you know, take their word for their word. We saw what played out with Guy Corres and how he had to, you know, just fight his move.
Isak is presently trying to fight his own way.
Trying to do the same thing.
They are all saying they had deals with the club. We had agreements, but it looks like these days agreements are not necessarily agreements.
When it is not pen to paper, you understand. So I think going forward, you know, if anybody's manager is seeing this, if anybody's agent is seeing this, yes, take this advice from us here that please, whenever a club tells you that yes, we have a gentleman agreement, there's no crime in having gentleman's agreements on paper. So let's sign the dotted lines and know what we are doing, so that at the end of the day, when the player wants to leave, the club does not witch hunt the player, or the player does not hold the club to ransom. It's just easy, and so that these guys, you know, can actually move on with their lives. As it will be, these guys have a whole lot of things other than football that they cater for. That football is funding, you understand? So they should just, you know, because this is our guy here, they should find a way to settle, you know, settle this. If you can't sell him, use him. Just settle it. You can settle differences.
Talking about moving on, one man has moved on. Eberechi Eze left Crystal Palace without a fight. In fact, he was supposed to play their UEFA Europa Conference League game, but at the beginning of the day, Oliver Glasner said Eberechi Eze called him and said he was not feeling well, and people said, well, what was the reason for that? He was training with them. I was watching him on TV, still training with Crystal Palace a day before he was to sign for Arsenal. Chilled guy, and the journalist that was speaking on TV, you know, Eberechi Eze was just behind him, and Eze could hear him, and he just looked at him, and he could hear what the guy was saying. Very chilled, easy peasy. But look at that walk of glory into the Emirates. Didn't shake anybody, just walked in, looked at the back and looked up and said, wow. Oh, man, maybe this. Very interesting one. Eberechi Eze in Arsenal. What wonders should we be expecting of his boots?
Well, personally, I think we should be expecting brilliant things from Eberechi Eze. Everyone knows, you know, his abilities, his strength, how he bosses midfield, and his eye for goal. He can score pretty amazing goals, and not just pretty amazing goals. He can score decisive goals. You know, when it comes to Eberechi Eze, expect anything good, and he's a team player. You take him for that. So Arsenal have got themselves an absolutely brilliant Premier League proven, you know, player. However, the big question is how he is going to fit into Arteta's system and how the coach is going to use him. I think credit needs to go to Eberechi Eze for his display, how he exited, you know, Crystal Palace. Big one for him. He would have played that, you know, that match. So he played the game before, you understand, and he was willing to play that game. And it could be like it should have been his, you know, his
final game where we say goodbye.
Exactly, where we say goodbye. But unfortunately, he couldn't play, so we can't say maybe he pulled out because of, you know, the deal. However, some fans are pretty much angry, and it's not Crystal Palace.
I think fans. He has tried, really.
And it's not Crystal Palace fans, and it's not Arsenal fans. It is. I think I said here before that I would. I think I said here before that I would start Eberechi Eze over the captain. Odegaard. Over the captain. But, you know, I'm not Mikel Arteta. However, Mikel Arteta needs to get his act right this season, because I was speaking to an Arsenal
Many of his boys are getting injured.
Yeah.
Saka is injured. Odegaard is injured.
Exactly.
Havertz is injured. You know.
So it's a big one. But you know, they won their game.
We'll be switching over now away from the front pages. We'll be moving into analysis of what went down, because anyone is actually jumping in. So let's jump in at once. Arsenal defeated Leeds, destroyed Leeds, demolished Leeds, brought them back to the earth after they won their first game against who did they win against now? Was it not Everton? Yes, it was Everton. Okay. Leeds defeated Everton 1-0, courtesy of a penalty, handball off Tarkowski. Good one for them. 5-0. Interestingly, their star man is scoring, unlike the star man of Manchester United. He's banging in the goals. Victor Gyökeres, 2 goals. Everybody was scoring. Saka scored before he left. You know, it was more of a team display. And even Uriel Timber, the man that post goals. I mean, everybody's scoring. Good one for Mikel Arteta.
So before I go, you know, dive deep into analysis, I think I have some questions to ask.
Oh, sweet.
And I'm not just the one asking the question. I'm sure many FPL fans are asking that question. So you see, at the end of every match week, there are some certain guys that top the worldwide table. And when you check their team, you check their squad, they pretty much just know who will score every week. And the fact that some people will even go as far as giving captain band to
Uriel
Timber. What is really going on? But anyway,
how did that happen?
Like, really, I don't understand.
How did you triple captain Uriel?
I do not understand. Anyway,
the most unlikely person in that team.
I will never do.
Are they using something?
I don't know. I don't know. But we need to ask. So if you are there, just, you know, you can get back to us in the comment section and just, you know, type and say what has been happening. Like, just give us a hint on what is going on. However, it's a big win for Arsenal. I think they just go to show that the win against Manchester United was not a fluke. Even though it was an Aram, you know, corner kick a diabolical
It was
corner kick.
fantastic. It was a fantastic
Because
corner
I saw a
kick.
stat, I think it was this morning, the clubs that have scored more goals from corner kicks, and Arsenal were top with 33 goals. The next online was on the table was Liverpool with, I think, about 20 to 22 goals, I think, thereabouts.
They have a set piece manager now, the most popular set piece manager in England.
I know.
That guy that stands like...
But he's doing a good job anyway.
He is.
Getting them the 3 points. So it's a good one for Mikel Arteta and his guys. I think it's a big relief for Victor Gyökeres, because you know the pressure in the Premier League. The game against Manchester United, we didn't really see him. He didn't really get test keeper. You understand? Even though Manchester United had a very weak, let me not use a very weak, but they had a weak goalkeeper at the post, and he could have. You
believe that Bayinda is a weak goalkeeper?
He is at the point. He's vulnerable. A vulnerable goalkeeper, because okay, let me use the word vulnerable.
Yes, Bayinda.
He is vulnerable at the moment. You understand? He is vulnerable at the moment. I think it would have been really nice if Gyökeres had gotten a goal, especially against Manchester United.
That would have been a statement.
At Old Trafford, you understand? Because the fact that we didn't sign him does not mean that I will discredit, his abilities. He's a pretty lethal goal scorer.
Look at that first goal yesterday.
And this celebration weekend is here, and is here to stay in the Premier League. I think everybody needs to, we'll see more of that, and they should expect more of that. So the big question for Arteta is now, what is he going to win for Arsenal, and how will he do it? With his players getting injured is a big one. Arsenal fans, as patient as they have been, for a pretty long time, for decades, even the ones in the mother's womb, they've been really patient. They've not seen their team celebrate, and they've been patient. But it is interesting to tell you that some Arsenal fans are here right now. And they said,
they are saying
this is the season. If it doesn't win anything, I'm not thinking that anything will be the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup.
They want the League or the Champions League.
Or the Champions League. And saying if it doesn't win anything, they should sack him. Okay. So that's where we are with Arsenal and Arteta.
For Manchester United, the only thing that is consistent about them is inconsistency itself. And this weekend, the inconsistent part of their play came to play, where they played out a 1-1 draw with Fulham. The first goal was courtesy of an own goal itself. Not any goal scored by a Manchester United player. And the second goal, of course, the goal of Fulham, was the assist was off the boots of our own Alex Iwobi. Landed safely right in front of Smith Rowe, and he buried it beyond Althea Bayinda, that Anyton has described as vulnerable.
Let's stick with vulnerable.
Inconsistent Manchester United. However, quick one. The penalty kick of Bruno Fernandes just landed at Karen Amoda, and he just safely got there this morning. Anytime.
Okay, I think I need to laugh first. I need to take a breather and then laugh. Because every time I'm on this show, Shegun always uses the opportunity to banter Manchester United.
Just the show. This is just the
because
show.
He knows that I'm a Manchester United fan.
You?
I don't know. Okay, now you know. But he takes the opportunities to just, to just bash me, to just say anything about my club, disrespect, just forgetting the history of Manchester United, and he just disrespect Manchester United
going forward.
That's your choice.
Okay.
However, Manchester United are back at it again. Last week everybody was talking about the fact that they should have won that game. You understand? It was a brilliant game against Arsenal, but that's last week. I was saying that I hope that defeat does not define the season. However, it's pretty too early, but this is 2 games. You should be getting
1 point from 6.
1 point from 6. You should be getting at least 4 points.
Yeah, from 6.
Game against Arsenal should have ended in a draw. And then this game against Fulham should have been, a victory. The penalty kick against, for Bruno Fernandes that he blasted off should have been the first goal of the season for Manchester United. But unfortunately, he blasted it off. What a time to miss a penalty for Bruno Fernandes. I think this is
landed in Kafanchan.
Yes, I just said yes. Now you said this is the 5th time that he's going to miss a penalty for Manchester United. Credit should go to Bruno Fernandes. Actually, he should not get the sticks for this. However, it's a penalty.
He didn't exactly have a great game yesterday.
Screaming
instructions at his players and then losing the ball.
Yes. Things like that happen. And that's because he's playing in a 2-man midfield. He's been outrun by players like Alex Iwobi and the likes. I'm not discrediting them, but you should expect more when you have Bruno Fernandes and Casemiro on the pitch. You understand? Now, Manchester United had, the opportunity to go 1-up. They couldn't, although it was a controversial call because by the time...
Was it controversial?
Yes.
I think Bassi at that moment was not playing football, he was playing rugby.
Yes, it was a penalty, quite all right.
Clean.
But at the moment, Bassi was, manhandling, what's his name now? I think it was Matheus Cunha. I can't recall who it was. At the moment, he was committing that offense. Luke Shaw was behind,
causing another trouble.
Similar, something similar. And there was like a shirt pull and thereabouts. It was.
But Bassi grabbed him.
Yes,
grabbed him
and pulled him. So it was a penalty. And then, unfortunately, Bruno Fernandes didn't score. And I think Fulham were the better side. If they
were the better side. They should have won that game. They had the opportunities to.
And then there was another controversy with the goal. He was claiming that Lenny Yoro pushed him with his two hands, but I think that push was soft. Everybody can agree that push was soft, but he has the right to complain. You understand? And then Manchester United scored that goal, and that's another controversy. You understand? But then Manchester United could not keep a 1-goal lead. This is not the first time. It just appears that last season has come back to this season, and then there is a continuation. Now, my own big question, or my grouse with Amorim, is the fact that he substituted Ahmad for Dalot. That goal could have been prevented because it was supposed to be a pull out from Dalot, and he was not aware of his surrounding. He mishandled the ball and gave the ball away to Alex Iwobi.
Football is about the pressure. Really.
Ahmad, but I think you would notice one or two. He wasn't really settled into the game. One or two things, you understand, when he came on, and it's just pretty uninteresting. But then that's Manchester United for you.
Moving on, there was pain in many places in England for different fans, but there was pain somewhere also in Manchester. The blue side of Manchester was, having a little feel of what the guys in the red side were having, even though those guys go on point. But on the blue side, they got beaten, bashed, and outclassed by the side from London, a team coached by Thomas Frank. 2-0, Spurs defeated Manchester City. Nobody would have predicted that. I don't think anybody would have predicted that before the game started. Sweet goals for Thomas Frank. That man now is doing something that they didn't do last season. Remember that last season they lost about 22 games. For Spurs, lost about 22 games out of 38, I guess. They were somewhere below, closed down there with the likes of Manchester United and co. But a good one for them, really. Anytime.
Yeah, a good one for Thomas Frank. It's a good start to life, in Tottenham for Thomas Frank, and it's going to show that, he's not come to play. He's not come to, debate. He's not come to do anything funny with anybody. It's the 3 points and 3 points, alone. And it's worked quite well, for them. I think I like his statement when they lost Eberechi to us, and he said they don't want a player who doesn't want to join, the club to sign for the club, and they can go anywhere. And he has gone to show that without, Eberechi, they can actually do just fine. And Kudus is doing, settling in well at Tottenham, you understand? So, but it was pretty surprising to see that they did not just only score 2 goals at the Etihad, they did not concede 1 goal at the Etihad Stadium. And the fact that Manchester United loss has overshadowed, Manchester City's defeat. But, it is what it is. This is the Premier League, like we used to say. Anything can happen. Yeah.
All right, we are rounding off now. There was a win for Real Madrid. There was a win for Barcelona. They came back from 2 goals down to win that game 3-2. I felt really sad about that game because I was happy. I was chilling. I was actually chilling that night. But hey, and in Italy, Como, coached by Cesc Fabregas, defeated Lazio 2-0. We said earlier Atalanta played a 1-0 draw with a new team that just came up, PR or something like that, 1-0 draw. And in the NPFL, we are back in our NPFL that anything was about dragging us. I mean, there was a defeat for 3SC right there in Ibadan. The fans were really angry. There was a draw for Enyimba as well. And for champions Remo Stars, they drew at home, even though there's a makeshift home in Abeokuta. They are not playing at Remo at the moment. They are editing and working on their pitch. They drew at home in Abeokuta. The US Open has started. Guess what? If you win the US Open singles final this year, you'll be getting the highest fee ever in the history of that competition. $5 million US. And Daniel Medvedev won't be getting that. He's getting a paltry $27,000. I checked the naira, it's about 42.5 million naira, and he was beating his his work tool for disappointing him. Unfortunately, that's all we have for you guys on the show this afternoon. A very big thank you to Enison Daramala for being a part of this.
Oh, yes.
The biggest of thanks belongs to you out there, viewers, because like I always say, we are here because you are there. Have a fantastic week. It's salary week. It's the last week in the month of August. Enjoy yourself. God bless you.